What's up, everybody? Welcome to Ordo Eroticus. I am Resident Infect. I got my boys, Forsaken Crow and Grim Incubus here. And we are just going to talk some Warhammer goodness. But to start everything off, since it's our first episode, let's start with Grim. What type of Warhammer did you start off with before, or until today?
So my first exposure to it was painting. I basically knew people that played the game but didn't want to paint any of their models, so I started painting their models. First army I started collecting was orcs because I loved the fact that, you know, the power
of imagination.
And the power of imagination, and the fact that blue is lucky, red makes you go faster, yellow makes you bigger explosions, makes you tougher, black makes you tougher, and then green is just the best. And purple is sneaky because you've never seen a purple orc.
I personally haven't. I don't know about Crow over there, but I've never seen a purple orc.
I mean, I painted some, so
yeah, he did. The
fuck if you want.
Now I know.
I let him paint some stuff with me, and the first thing he did was paint a purple orc. I was like, you can't do that.
You can't do that.
And he's like, oh, why not? And I was like, I guess I don't have a reason why. But
it's sacrilege.
To be fair, though, I have never seen that purple orc since then, so...
He's the stealthiest, dude. It's right to the lore.
Now, I know Crow's more of a Sigmar boy, and you are on the Slaaneshi side of things because you're a fucking heathen.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
So for me, the first entry to the series, or like the entire universe in general, I'm trying to think all the way back to if there's anything before it, but it was probably Warhammer Age of Reckoning. The MMO came out in, like, what was it, 2007? I think it was, if I remember right.
Something like that.
Or 2000. It may have been like 2008 or 9. But I played it a good bit. I initially played a lot of Black Orc for a while, and then I switched to playing Chaos Marauders. So that kind of started me towards like liking Slaanesh before I even knew much about the universe itself. Then after that, a handful of years down the line, started playing Total War Warhammer, which is set in Sigmar universe. And I played that off and on. Didn't play the second one. Have played a lot more of the third one than I've even played the first. And I've just kind of settled on enjoying Slaanesh from there. The more I learn about it, it's just interesting. You know, it's a stark contrast to my personal character, so it's
nice.
Weird, mundane, and strange I'm all about.
Yeah, she is quite strange. Or they are quite strange. Let's be correct about Slaanesh.
Whatever they may be.
Yeah. All right. So my first exposure was back in tech school for you Air Force veterans back in 2011 with the other member of our podcast who is not here. He introduced me to the game and introduced me to somewhat Slaanesh, but the ones that made Slaanesh a thing, the Drukhari. And so I started collecting Drukhari back then, but of course I was stupid and was buying a bunch, and then I had no way to get them to Arkansas for a little bit, then all the way over here. So I stopped collecting for a long time. And then recently, in the past year, I got back into it. Started with the Nuns with Guns, the Sisters. Then I made a full Night Lord's army and a full World Eaters army. And that's where we are today. And of course, today we are going to talk about the Angry Twelfth. The big red angel, Angron, and the World Eaters. And this was a little, I wouldn't say like a tournament at my LGS. It was like a free-to-play, but a bunch of people showed up. And so let me preface before, like, this event. So I worked a full shift from 2 p.m. to 11 p.m., right? The night before. But the moment I got home, I still had to build a tank. I had to build 5 more berserkers, and then obviously I had to paint those, and I also had Exalted 8-bound I needed to paint, so on and so forth. I got most of it done, but I didn't get it all done, so I couldn't get, that free 10 victory points, which sucked. But going into game 1, I was going. Let's look at the deployments. So you saw the well, let me see where. There we go. The search and destroy, right? That was the deployment setup. So the corners of the table, right? And I was going up against Astra Militarum. So if you know anything about the Militarum, you know they like to go boom with lots of artillery. So I was like, oh, even before that, let's go over my list. I totally forgot. Let's go over the list. So, of course, I had to run Angry Ron. He is the warlord. His right-hand man, we got Karn, and he was leading a band of 10 berserkers. Then we had a master of executioners, also leading a band of 10. Then just one 5-man squad. A squad of 10 jackals to hold backline objectives. One 3-man squad of exalted. One 6-man squad of just normal 8-bound. Then a squad of 2 chaos spawn, a rhino, and a chaos predator annihilator. So that was my list.
I didn't hear. Were you running Angron or no?
Yes, he is the warlord.
Gotcha.
Yeah, if I'm using...
I am looking over some of the stuff for World Eaters. I've never really looked it over before, but looking over Angrons to begin with.
Yeah.
That whole, Reborn in Blood.
Yep.
Really piqued my interest, and I was like, that is
so
dirty.
So the way it worked... The way it worked in 9th before 10th, so you acquired Blood Tithe in 9th, right? So if a unit you killed, or you kill a unit, you get a Blood Tithe. A unit of yours dies, you get a Blood Tithe, right? So the way Angron's Rebirth in Blood used to work at 8 Blood Tithe points, because that's Khorne's number, you can move the 8, bring Angron back, but he's only at half wounds. Now, it's only... You have to roll 3 6s off of 3d8 off of your Blessings of Khorne, which is only by itself like a 23% chance, but with all the other rerolls you can get with icons and stuff, it goes up to about 35. Still a slim chance, but you get him back at full wounds.
Yeah.
And then you get to deep strike him in and just... go banana sandwich on whatever you want. And what were you going to say, Crow?
I was going to say, so since, I'm not somebody who knows very much at all about 40k, but just like even flipping through the cards and for the World Eaters, I was like, okay, well, I'm trying to like convert the knowledge so to see what like kind of mixes, because there's like a random mixing with subtle differences between, the two...
The two games,
I guess variants, the Age of Sigmar and 40k stuff. And pretty much from what I can see from someone who doesn't know much about 40k but knows a little bit about Sigmar, is that World Eaters look like the 40k version of like Sigmar faction. Maybe not Khorne directly, but like as Khorne as it gets it. But I'm not exactly familiar with what the other chaos factions may be, but it looks like they're as Khorne as it gets for 40k.
Yeah, so they have like the human versions, like the Khorne followers in Sigmar.
They have like the Marauders.
Yeah, that's essentially what they are.
That's what I was thinking.
That's essentially what they are. Yeah, there's an equivalent.
Now, do they have any like rank and? It didn't look like there was any like rank and fodder demons. It was.
Oh no! This one
or like something equivalent to blood letters, for example.
So you can use blood letters, right? Oh, okay. But the issue is they don't get any of the buffs from the Blessing of Khorne. So at the beginning of each round, you roll, your 8d8. It only affects World Eater units specifically.
So you're pretty much locked into using them unless you're.
Like there's
sideboarding something powerful to deal with something specific.
Like there's some builds that use Chaos War Dogs, but they're demon engines and Khorne specific, because of how shooty 10th is right now. Because all we have for actual codexes are Space Marines and Tyranids as of right now. Everything else is index cards. And with 10th edition, it's just, we get to pick whatever weapons we want with no points costs. Right? So everyone's choosing the heaviest shooting guns that can do the mass amount of damage. That's the issue we're seeing in 10th right now. So you have armies like the Tau, who are just annihilating stuff. The Eldar doing the same thing. Drukhari, they can do it as well. I know World Eaters just won a tournament.
California Open.
Yep, the California Cup. So his list was Angron, 2 Rhinos, a squad of 6 Exalted 8-bound, a squad of 3 Exalted 8-bound, a squad of 3 normal 8-bound, 10-man Zerk with Karn, 5-man Zerk with Master of Executions, Lord of Akatis, Lord on Jug, and a squad of Jackals. But the guy who won, he's known in the 40k community. Like, he is a melee guy. Like, he knows his melee armies. So it doesn't surprise me that he would take it. But for an army with like no guns other than your rhinos, taking down this very shooty meta is very, very crazy.
Well, that brings up a good point that extends like beyond just like tabletop strategy games. Like it ventures into like, even like RTS games like on PC and stuff. It's like you can take, if somebody is so good of a tactician, they can essentially fight a very easy or brain dead meta if they are good enough given the right perfect storm.
Yeah.
Like even though it's like, okay, you're fighting an uphill battle from the get-go and you're not playing to where the meta is going, and it's like you already know you're fighting an uphill battle, just somebody that has that like tactical know-how can navigate that and bust through it. I mean, that's kind of like the appeal to me to games like this and RTSs stuff.
Yeah.
Is that like, even though you might be playing the worst thing that exists on paper, you can still beat somebody that's running the best thing. Depends on how good of a tactician you are.
That and your rolls as well.
Yep.
Which, it's like, I don't know what.
And like we were saying with Angron and everything, like if you can find a way to get a bunch of rerolls or get some obviously luck, but like you can find a way to incorporate rerolls, actually I've got a stratagem or I've got this that can come in and kind of offset.
Yeah.
So that can even further tip it in your favor.
Yep.
So, Adam.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean,
that is definitely the appeal.
I mean, could you imagine if you roll just like straight 666s in entire battle? And everybody gets blessing and corn every round.
Like... So let me when we get to game 2, you'll you're gonna love what happened in game 2. But let's get cracking into game 1 against Astra Militarum. So as I was actually playing my landlord. Funny enough, he was obviously no. So he was.
Did you
win? Let me just get to.
Should have played for rent.
Anywho, he was playing Lord Solar Leontis. So his stupid thing, he can make his units like get extra orders. So he was able to drop 3 orders for like everything. So he's just doing like move pre-game, right? Just going all crazy. So before he even had his turn 1, he already had No Man's Land completely in his control. Right? And because this is my first game since 2011, I played super cagey for 1. which I know I shouldn't do because I'm playing fucking World Eaters. And 2, not only was I playing KG, I didn't even like stretch to the edge of the deployment line. So I put myself in a rough spot game 1. And I had Angron and Exalted 8-Bound and Blasphemous Reserves coming in at Deep Strike. So turn 1, we roll to see who gets turn 1. He gets turn 1. I'm like, all right, cool. Right? And so obviously you can't get objective points first round because that's just how it is. But he starts off his volley of fire with his Lehman Russes and Rogel Dorns. He targets my Rhino that had Karn and my 10-man Berserker. And guess what happens? Boom! It goes bye-bye. And I had my Predator Annihilator right behind it. And guess who got to ignore pretty much all cover? Him! And guess what happens? Predator Annihilator goes boom! So I'm already down my fast transport, turn 1, to move my guys to get into combat so I can really go crazy. And then my one big range damage dealer is gone. Turn 1. Then it comes to my turn. I'm able to get Karn and his boys onto center objective because he was trying to pop shots off. He killed one guy, but with the Berserker's special ability, if a model dies in that unit after the attacking unit is done with all their move shooting, I get to roll a d6 and move that many inches closest to the closest enemy unit. So because he was popping shots off, I was able to roll a 6 to get, nice 6 inches. Then I was able to move in on turn 2 and start going crazy. But so that was his turn 1. So I started trying to move out. I get Karn and his boys onto center objective, and I wipe out his squad that was holding center objective. And then turn 2 comes. He had a Vindicare Assassin, so the sniper boy. He's just popping shots off of my Lord on Juggernaut, and for some reason I was rolling hot on the jugs. Just save, right? It practically took his entire shooting force, or about half his shooting force, to kill my Juggernaut. Which I was like, all right, cool. That wasted a lot of shots. But then he was, picking off my 8-Bound and all that. So I was just like, great. So all I have is half a 10-man squad, a 5-man squad of Berserkers. Got my Jackals on the back line. And that's all I have other than, my Exalted in Deep Strike and Angron in Deep Strike. So it comes to my turn. We drop down. So he had the little, Imperial AT-ATs. I can't remember what they're called. But they look like Star Wars walkers. He had them off on closer to my side of the table. So I dropped Angron there and went in, boom. Blew them the fuck up. Tried to get my Exalted onto his Rogel Dorn. Failed the charge and then failed the reroll. And he overwatched as well, so then he started blowing up everything else. So by the end of turn 2, all I had was a 5-man squad of Berserkers, Jackals, and Angron. And I only scored 15 points. Now, the mission rule, I did send you guys the mission rule. It was deploy servo skulls. So the way this works, you're trying to move them, right? And he knew that, okay, I am a melee army, right? So if I get these objectives, bring them all the way to me, where all my guys are, they're going to have to come in to grab objective controlled, but by the time they even get there, I will blow them up. Like, it is an awful... It was just awful deployment on my part, and then the mission rule did not help at all. And mind you, I'm already at, like, being up for 18 hours. So my mind's already fried to begin with. Like, it was an awful game one. So I scored 15 points at the end of turn 2, and he was already at like 40 something. So I was like, there's no way I can win this. So I just conceded. Game 1.
Was it? It's a best of 3, right?
No. It's just one game. It's 5 rounds. Oh, okay. 5 battle rounds to a game. But at the end of turn 2, when I only have 3 units and he only lost a single unit.
Yeah. A little rough.
Yeah. And mind you, my corn rolls this game, all I can do is pretty much 6 up invulnerable saves and 2 inches to movement. That's all I was getting. Like, I was just like, I don't know.
Virtually nothing.
Like, don't get me wrong. The first turn, like, the 2 inches to movement is very good. Especially since everything's, 6 inches. You get that additional 2 inches before advancing. And especially, like, let's say, if I started the game with Angron on the table, he's got 14 movement, right? 16 inches instead with that blessing. So I'm pretty much going to be right in someone's face, and then the charge, and then I'll be able to go crazy. Like, the movement's good, but when that's all you're getting, as well as just a 6-up invuln, and that's what you have to take because you're just getting blown up from every which fucking way possible.
Now, World Eaters, they still have, like, pretty much a stock standard corn playstyle from what I can see on the cards.
Yeah.
Of, like, they want to get into combat, they want to stay in combat, and they would just essentially front to back fight most of anything.
Yeah.
Outside of, like, a ranged threat.
Yeah.
Blood for the Blood God.
They're pretty, Blood for the Blood God, get in. Armored units, just pound things.
Yeah.
Tooth and nail, yeah. So that brings up a good question. So, what's the 40k orc army? Is it just orcs, or do they have some special name?
No, they're orcs. It just depends on if you want to be goths, if you want to be a snake bites. AJ, refresh my memory. What are the other bad skulls? Right, for the shooty boys.
So there's Goths, Evil Sons, Bad Moons, Snake Bites, Blood Axes, Death Skulls. Those are the main ones.
Yeah.
Death Skulls are the shooty boys, that's right.
Mainly, I'm kind of like...
But then there's also, like, feral orcs, and then, like, freebooters, and other stuff like that, and other small pockets, or kind of like with, or I've seen it a lot, especially here in Texas, at my local place, people will make up, kind of like, with what are they called? Not the main.
Not goths.
No, like for Space Marines.
Oh yeah. The chapters, the different chapters.
What are the sub ones called? I forget.
Oh, yeah. Why can't I think of the term?
Right.
Why can't I think of the term?
The offshoots of those.
So like Blood Angels, you have the Flesh Terrors.
Yeah, so there's a lot of people that do like that, like, oh, we're associated with the evil moons, but we're actually from this planet, and we're a small band of blah blah blah. So I feel like there's a little bit of homebrewing here. Yeah, a lot of people do like homebrewing here, which I enjoy a lot because then I love to see people flesh. I know off topic, but I love to see people flesh out there. I mean, if you just come there and you're like, this is my custom faction, and I'm like, okay, well, what's the lore behind it? And they're like, well, we have the same rules as the salamanders. Okay, well, is there any lore behind it? Well, no.
Well, on that
Okay,
point,
well,
though,
get the hell out of here.
on
Get
that,
the hell out of here.
I like the. It's like, okay, for me in
Like,
homebrew,
flesh it out. Give me
that-
some
yeah, that
backstory.
brings up-
What'd you fight in? Where were you? What was
brings
going
up a
on?
good point. Like,
How
for
did this
me,
happen?
For homebrews, like, it's like, okay, it exists under this playset, but it's like you gotta sell me your lore and then I'll let you play. It's like if you just make it this, it's like you gotta sell me the lore and then I'm like,
I've
fine,
actually-
do whatever, that's cool.
I actually walked away from when I was playing Alpha Legion, and I walked away from a game. I was like, actually, I think I don't have enough time to play a full game. Sorry about that. Just because I was like, you do not seem like the person I'm going to gel with because you just kind of just showed up and you just like you got nothing.
Yeah.
so on the
But
Like I
anyway-
can appreciate people like getting into it, but when you're deep into it, you've got a full 2,000 point army, you're ready to go, and your lore is we just kind of just came into existence, and you've homebrewed it. Kind of takes the fun out of it for me.
well, how the game first started. If lore-wise, Emperor had 20 sons, but there's only 18. Well, technically 21 sons, but there's only 18 Marine factions.
Yeah.
And the two sons that are whoop whoop whoop. The way
My girlfriend's hoping that one of those is a daughter because I was talking to her about the lore.
oh
She's like, I hope one of them's a daughter. I was like, I don't think that's a thing. Like we got like the sisters of battle, and she's like, yeah, but they're just
how dare
they've got the
how dare
they've got
she
the
say they're
bob cut.
just how dare she
Well,
just
no.
say that.
They don't look great because they've got the bob cut. She's
But-
like, that looks stupid. I
but-
was like,
But anywho, so the way it used to be, you were able to make like your own loyalist faction or your own chaos faction. So that was the whole point of like excluding or taking out two of the unnamed Primarchs.
mhm.
So which your story of all the backstories and everything, it made me think of that. But
And anyways, back to the point that I was trying to get to, which was, so, orcs kind of have like a similar, at least the melee heavy orc comps, to my knowledge, they operate in a similar fashion to Khorne,
Mhm.
where they like want to get into combat, stay in combat. Now, my question is if you take a melee heavy orc faction and a melee heavy Khorne faction in 40k, is it still kind of like Sigmar, where it's like it's going to be so ridiculously close that it almost comes down to position?
yeah. Now
Yeah, okay.
the benefit to running orcs over World Eaters though is DACA. DACA.
Yeah, you have their orcs. I feel like outside of their melee, which is like their bread and butter, everything else is like a watered down version of what other factions do better. But the fact that they have that versatility is a game changer.
Yeah.
That's kind of like the whole reason most people, I feel, like orcs, is because it's like it's all about the wall. We get in, we have this big blob, and then on the outskirts you can have a couple casters here, you can have a couple shooty boys out here doing whatever, something, or some kind of vanguard charge hit and run style unit, take out HVTs, high value targets, and then that's like pretty much a whole like orc, the Morkin Gorkin that gets into the Orkin.
Oh yeah. Now the
back to World Eater.
but yeah, going back to World Eaters. Going back to World Eaters.
Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, it's fine. It's fine. But all right, let's
I
get.
can't resist. I love my Green Boys.
Oh, the Green Boys
Me
are
and AJ
awesome.
the captain. Me and AJ are the engineer and conductor of derailing every train through.
But
Forth.
let's be honest though, you never come across a salty orc player because they know they're hitting on 5s and 6s. That's just them in range. Like they know they're not hitting, but when they hit, they fucking hit.
We're there for a good time, not a long time.
Exactly. Never meet a salty orc player, but
I may not make top 10, but I'm gonna have a great time.
all right, let's get into game 2.
I mean, I was about to transition. I
Yep.
feel like that's the same with World Eaters too. Even
Yep.
though they do have a great record, I've definitely come across a lot of callback to what Scott was saying earlier. With sometimes there's you bring a less than top tier list,
Mm-hmm.
and you can do good, Same thing with, I've come across a lot of like the rolls just didn't go their way. Angron couldn't come back. They kind of felt kind of like what you were talking about, where you fall behind and it becomes a bigger and bigger hill to try to climb it.
Yep.
So one of the things I can appreciate about World Eaters is you can come in there shit hot and still not come out on top.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Same.
And that's what's going to happen in this second game. So, our second...
transitioning.
Yep. So, in the channel, you'll see the second deployment layout. Just the nice hot dog layout, you know. So, I had a nice wide array to space everything out. And this time, I was like, you know what? I'm pushing at 20 hours, no sleep. Let's just throw everything on the board. Hopefully get turn 1. And let's go. So I was facing one of the top factions right now. Gene Stealer Cults. Oh God. But so Gene Stealer Cults, right? On the hot dog deployment. He had his scout moves, whatever. And I'm like, all right, here we go. Let's see who gets first turn. Yo, boy got first turn. Let's go. So I was like, you know what? Let's roll the blessings of corn. So we got the good 2 inches to movement, like always. And then there was like I think there's a sustained melee one. I can't remember. There was a good melee profile in the. Let's see. Checking the index for the corn. Okay. Yeah, I got warp blades from the blessings. So essentially, melee gives melee attacks lethal hits. So exploding 6s essentially. So he scout moved his like 20-man brick of acolytes close to the midboard. I was just like, let's go, boom, send Agron in. Had just everything just pushing out, just trying to keep that screening pressure. Angron wiped out this fucking unit. I cannot tell you how many 6s I rolled on his sweep. I think on the damage roll, I was rolling 28 die for damage on this 28-man unit. So 18 attacks, strength, or what's his strength at for this? So normally 18, plus 2 weapon strength, plus 8 strength, minus 2 AP, 2 damage flat. But jumping up those 18s to 28 wounds, wounding hits, like that is gonna wreck. But so boom, right? Everything's good game, or that turn. Just start. I was able to actually get into melee, which is nice. And then for this game, it was very much back and forth, right? So his turn 2, or his turn 1, obviously was just pop shotting Angron, right? Got him down to 1, but couldn't finish him off. Turn 2 comes, Angron's still doing his thing, able to make a charge. Everyone, we're about at half strength at this point. But he, so this is the one where it got crazy, Scott, with the blessings roll. So, turn 2, I roll, right? And I still had 2 chaos icons, so I can re-roll. I could re-roll 2 of my blessings of corn die. I rolled 3 6s. I re-rolled the other 2. I got 2 more 6s. And I was like, this could not have happened at the the most prudent time. Angron at 1 wound, getting surrounded by GSC. Like this had to be done. So he eventually finally takes him out. I put him in reserves, whatever. Turn 3 comes around. Not the best rolls, but it's still like decent rolls. It's still another movement with lethal hits. So nothing crazy. But then again, so my turn 3 started, wrecking with Angron, but I for some reason, just couldn't make any of my charges. He was saving everything that was in combat. And at the start of turn 4, all I had left was Angron on the table, and he was able to bring, because of Gene Stealer's abilities, he was able to bring back two units. So even though I thought I was trying to push him and try to wipe his board so he can't, or at least push the board so he can't deploy in such a way to actually be able to put down his token or his little markers to resurrect Gene Stealers, there was nothing I could do with just Angron. So at that point, the score was 68-65 in GSC's favor, but still very fun game. Yep. Yeah.
But that goes to show, like, where I feel like the enjoyment can be with the game, because it's like, even though RNG can be as frustrating and inconsistent, it makes it so it's like, man, it's like, well, if I got god tier rolls or decent rolls, it just drastically shifts, like, the tides of battle. Like, even outside of just melee rolls, like the blessings, the big ones that really matter, can really change, like, whereas your game 1, it's like, man, I really struggle, my rolls are crap, and then it's like, well, then the second game, it's like, drastic difference. Like, am I playing a whole nother army? That's kind of like the fun of it.
Yeah. But I feel with this, where 10th is right now, just off of these 2 games, I feel like I need to actually take out my Exalted 8-bound. Or just 8-bound in general. Like, I know we are a melee army, right? But we do have some good ranged options. So if you look at the index, we have the Demon Prince. We'll go without wings, just because of, less points, right? It's 190 without wings and 220 with wings. But it's Infernal Cannon, 24-inch range, 3 attacks, plus 2 to hit, 5 strength, minus 1 AP, 2 damage flat. Like, not bad. Then keep going down. Like, you got Terminators. You could run bricks of those. Bunch of Flamers for auto hits. You can do, like, Reaper autocannons, whatever. But they're more a melee profile. You got
question.
What's up?
At what point during that second battle did it kind of shift?
Oh, it was turn 3.
Okay.
It was turn 3 when I wasn't making my saves.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But then we saw the...
My question on that is, because I was trying to... Not like I wasn't paying attention, I was just trying to picture it in my head and kind of figure out what was going on. But looking over a lot of, like, the Khorne lists that I've seen, it feels like going first is a must.
Yep.
Because if you're gonna fucking get in there, sorry for cussing, one of the biggest advantages that it seems like war leaders have is their ability to surge and just, like, start smashing at the enemy. So if they can get over to you, that's going to be beneficial. So turn 1 is the best thing. So you got turn 1. The reason I ask about turn 3 is because you got, I want to say there's, like, the 3 things that you want with world eaters. You want Angron to come back, which he did. You want to go first, which is what happened. And you want to, have a plan built around your blessings of Khorne.
Yep.
To kind of bolster and add to everything that you have on your list. I think another one to add on to there is, sometimes the hill is not worth dying on. And I'm not sure how each individual turn exactly went or what units were where, but it seems like turn 3, correct if I'm wrong, could have been maybe this is not the battle I should be loading up on. I should move more stuff over to this end, or I should more focus on this unit than those units.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Or are you saying that it was a lot of? Was it a lot more? What I'm asking is there was a lot more luck, or was it more like I shouldn't have had these guys there? They could have been more useful, taking out this thing, which then would have opened up.
It was a lot of 50-50. So my turn 2, I was trying to get my 8-bound that were on the far side of my deployment zone to his backline, because that's where he had his resurrection point for his GSC. I just didn't make the charge to get within the 9 so they couldn't deploy. I was like 2 inches off with my movement and my charge.
It's been a while since I've played any sort of corn or World Eaters.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been a while since I've played World Eaters. But like in 9th edition, I know that they were pretty durable, and there was a lot of them, kind of.
Yeah.
Looking over some of the lists that I've seen and just the cards that I've just the units that I've seen, a lot of them are less durable, and there's less of them.
Yep. Now, thankfully, with the
10th edition, it's more
it's more shooting. It's more shooty right now. But thankfully,
and with the World Eaters being more like
Unga Bunga. Yep.
Unga Bunga, chop you to pieces. Hone that blade right in your skull.
Yeah, I figured with this, big free-to-play event they were doing, let's just take a simple army, easy to understand, where my lack of sleep, right, it will cater more beneficially than, let's say, if I were to roll in with my Night Lords, who, I have to remember which one's Slaanesh, which one's Nurgle, which one's Chaos Undivided, and all those extra rules, right? For all their blessings, where it's like, okay, I just roll for corn. Cool. This is what I get for the entire battle round.
Going back to the orcs, tying it in there. That's what I love about playing orcs, because you're just like, I don't need to focus on shit.
Yep.
Hitting stuff and shooting stuff, and I know that this will either work or it won't. I'll either blow up or they will. I'll either suicide bomb or I'll blow up.
Yeah,
one of the two is going to happen.
Exactly.
Or both.
Yeah, exactly. So what I'm thinking for the next time I bring out the World Eaters, I'm thinking about bringing a Hellbrute instead of a squad of 8-bound, just so I can have range and good some decent range damage, right? Keep my Predator Annihilator. And I was thinking about getting a Forge Fiend as well.
So you just rolled in with a Rhino.
A Rhino and a Predator Annihilator.
Gotcha. You didn't go in with any,
other ranged options? No. That was my only range. I was trying to keep it as close to that list, that winning, or California winning list, as possible. Obviously with what I had. So I had, and so I did. That was what I came up with. But I definitely need, as of right now, until codexes come out and everything, and it starts balancing out with ranged and melee, I need to put more range options into this list. Hell, I might even splurge and get a Lord of Skulls for the list.
Gotcha.
I just feel, as of right now, yes, and it's also terrain as well. That's a big factor. If you have a lot of tall buildings or tall ruins, right? You can get your guys in there, and with the way terrain works now, if you're on the first floor of cover, they can't shoot at you whatsoever. So the fact I wasn't able to get into terrain that first game against Militarum because it's Militarum, it really screwed it up. But I think I definitely know if I'm running Angron, he needs to be on the board because he is a high target. So that'll let my other troops be able to go.
What about rolling in there with the Lord of Skulls?
That's what I'm saying. Like, have a Lord of Skulls and Angron on the field at the same time. Like, oh shit, what do I go for? Like, like that's what I'm thinking.
Are you able to, is that a thing? Are you able to?
I mean, it's like you definitely want to have like the major threat and like a very substantial minor threat, so that way you can move your rank and file guys into position.
Yeah.
And really like start. Pretty much, you want to do like an entrapment system.
Mm-hmm.
Like you want to like force yourself into an advantageous position that puts them in a disadvantaged position, and then once they're already committed, you just surround, and then do what Khorne does best.
Yep.
Get in battle, stay in battle, whoop some ass.
Hell yeah. But obviously that's down the line. Lord of Skulls, it's fucking expensive because it's Forge World. So I want to wait on that. It's either I get that or I start finishing up my Sisters of Battle army. But I do love Angron. He is my second favorite Primarch. Conrad Kurz of the Night Lords is number 1. But no, I gotta love the World Eaters. I'm so glad they finally got new models and they don't have those. Oh my gosh, what is going on there?
The weirdest.
Oh my god.
Honestly.
But
have you not seen my room? I'm set
I know.
up for it.
I know. Well, it makes sense with the title of the podcast, Ordo Eroticus. It makes sense. But yeah, so I'm probably. I don't know if I'm going to finish my Sisters or if I'm going to get the Lord of Skulls. That's pretty much it. Like, what's going on right now for changes on the list. Definitely, I do have an old Dreadnought, or not an old Dreadnought, but I have a 30k Dreadnought unit. I just got to throw some spikes on it, turn it, make it look more, Hellbrute. But yeah, no, for first 2 games back after, 11 years, 12 years. Like, yeah, that first one, goes as expected, especially with lack of sleep. But that second game against Gene Steelers, one of the, I think they are in the top 5 factions right now, and I pulled off that close of a game. Was still trying to, learn all the 10th edition mechanics, all the 10th changes to each army on top of that. Like, I think it was a success. I do need to play them more, obviously. But yeah, no. Got any suggestions for the army to change for me for next time?
I mean, we're talking about maybe more shooty boys.
Yep, that's what I was saying first. Yeah.
Now, now I haven't played the, much at all.
Yep.
Tabletop Warhammer, but now every time you play like exhibitions or even tournament play, does the terrain change?
Yes.
Quite a bit. Okay.
Yes.
So you want? I'm assuming what you're going for is you want to maximize on Khorne's strengths, and then you want to somewhat minimize on your weaknesses. So Khorne's major weakness is always range.
Yep.
Range and things that can kind of put you in a choke. So even though I may not know exact units, having like some range so you can kind of run the whole stock standard melee army thing of like get in, stay in, and have people be able to flank. What do you have available in terms of range? Is there like range options?
So
do you have like full artillery or just standard
So
archer
we have
or
our
shooter style?
we have our tank, our Predator Annihilator, and then there's Predator Demolisher. They're practically the same, just gun changes essentially. We have our Demon Prince with or without wings. Our Corn Lord of Skulls. We have our Hellbrute, our Hell Drake, and I believe that's it for ranged options because it is Corn.
Now, do you have any like?
And Forge Fiend. There we go.
Okay. Now, do you have anything in terms of like? Because what I'm thinking is, even though it's not long range, but I feel like it would be amazing in your army composition. Is there any type of like flamethrower units you could throw in?
Terminators.
Terminators?
They can get. Let me pull up Terminators and see how many flamers they can get. For every 5 miles in this unit, one World Eater's Terminator combi bolter can be replaced with one of the. So I can get 2 heavy flamers. Let me see what else. Combi bolter, combi weapon. So yeah, so I can get 2 flamers on a 10-man unit of Terminators.
Now,
which is kind of poopy.
Although it would not give you exactly what you may be looking for, like you want to be able to like kind of whittle down the range threats in the back, you know?
Yeah.
But if you add, like, so for example, if you can, an ideal scenario for your army, if you have the flamers, for example, you want to put your guys into, you know, the meat and potatoes of who you're facing, and then you could have your flamer units come in from the side and spray across and burn the shit out of all their army while your army beats the hell out of them.
Yeah.
Now, it might not be like, you know, that's like totally the range thing, but I feel like that would enhance your army's fighting capability, and it would get a lot of AoE down.
Yeah.
And then additionally, you could potentially swap something out to give you that little bit of extra range to whittle, you know, HVTs down.
Yeah.
But that was just something that popped in my head. Speaking of range, I was like, wait a second, Corn's great at melee. Throw flamethrower AoE on top of it. That sounds grand.
So yeah, so the cool thing about flamers, you instead of rolling to hit, you roll however many dice, right, for the attack value, and whatever the total is, that's how many hits.
Woo!
So let's say, you know, since you're rolling 2 heavy flamers, so you're going to roll 4d6. If you roll all 4 sixes, you're hitting 24 times.
Oh my god. That sounds
the beauty of flamers.
Spicy.
Mind you, the damage is only 1, but still, that amount of chances to fail is great.
Yeah. Well, that and, like, I'm assuming it hits multiple targets if they're close.
Well,
enough, right?
you just target the squad, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the person receiving it, they will, you know, roll their defense or their defensive rolls. If they fail, obviously, if they're one HP models, you know, you're going to be planking them off. You know, they're going plankoed off. So, like, flamers are good. It's just flamers on vehicles are better because they hit harder. They have a harder AP, and they do two damage opposed to 1. And I think the only like flamer model that we have for like heavy is our Hellbrute, but it's only a 12-inch range opposed to like, you know, a nice 36 or a good 48 on the other like heavy damage dealers.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, the only another option would be like any type of like mortar style artillery.
Yeah, we don't get that.
Yeah,
other than the Lord of Skulls and maybe the Annihilators, depending if you take the blast damage profile weapons.
That makes sense. Yeah, because the reason why I thought that you may have had it, because I know in Sigmar there's a skull cannon, right? Is that what they're called?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, something like that. I know they exist in Total War Warhammer for Khorne, but I know some that exist for tabletop in Sigmar, but I couldn't remember. I didn't know if anything existed like that for 40k.
Like, the closest thing would probably be the Hellbrute or the Lord of Skulls. A fast unit, the Helldrake. But like, but the only downside with like the Helldrake, the Lord of Skulls, like Helldrake's like 200 plus points. Lord of Skulls is 495 points of your army.
Your point value. Yeah. Now, what about the aforementioned heavy flamers you can slot into your inventory?
Into the Terminators, yeah.
Yeah. Now, how much are you going to sacrifice to get them?
What's the Rhino real quick?
The Rhino?
Yeah.
Rhino's at 75 points after the September update, which is very nice.
What's its movement?
Rhino is 10-inch movement. Let me check. No, 12-inch movement. 12-inch movement.
Oh, gotcha. So you could also do the Land Raider.
Yeah.
That gives you a lot more weapon options.
Yeah.
As opposed to Rhino.
It's just the Land Raider's 220 points. Because of those weapon options, and that's why I went with the Predator Annihilator over the Land Raider.
Gotcha.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of tuning.
a lot of min-maxing.
Yeah, I do think like the Terminators would be good. It's just their points are so expensive for a 10-man. I don't know why they are so expensive for World Eaters, but they are dirt cheap for CSM. Like, it makes no fucking sense whatsoever. But yeah, if anything, at first, I'll get like a Forge Fiend and put in a Hellbrute and keep those like, in the back and test out for the next game before, buying the big expensive $300 Lord of Skulls. And then sliding.
Now, is there like a weaker, I know like a lot of times with Lords, there's kind of like a weaker regular unit variant. Is there anything that's similar to the Lord of Skulls and like kind of not exactly what he does, but
Hellbrute?
Like, okay, because I would say like, see how the Hellbrute works, and then if you feel like that's effective, then obviously up the ante, swipe the credit card and go full send into your Lord of Skulls. But I would definitely do that test drive before.
Oh yeah.
Committing to a big investment like that.
And once I do get TTS, we can mess around in games using these like whatever list we want to, which is the great part about TTS. But what the hell just happened there? All right, there we go. But yeah, so it's just a lot of fine tuning for me right now, trying to figure out what the hell to do with the state of 10th. But yeah, I think that wraps up everything for these battle report recaps and army list and changes and everything. Next one, just Grim, let me know when you get your next games in, and we can go over your list and everything.
Okay.
And I know since everyone's memory is probably better than mine, but still pretty crap, bring a notepad with you when you guys do your battles.
Oh, yeah.
You can write down. I mean, Drew seems like he has a play-by-play. I figured AJ was going to do the same, but it's definitely worth iterating.
Yeah. I was dumb and didn't use the battle... what's the app?
Battle Scribe?
No, not Battle Scribe. There's an app where you can, like, tabletop battles. And you can, like, put in your secondary objectives and like the score and everything. So not like a play-by-play, but it lets you know. It lets you know like what points you got, which is nice. So you can kind of look back and it'll jog the memory of like, oh yeah, I did this, that, so on and so forth. But,
right. Yeah, I mean that would be good. The more we have to talk on, the more we can give like the hindsight 20.
Yep.
Perspectives and suggestions that will bounce around each other in the how I'll colorfully call it the hive mind.
Speaking of hive mind, you should just play the NIDS. But anywho, that's another subject for another day.
I've been saying that. Or Never mind. Another topic, another day.
But Grim, where can the people on the internet find you?
Nowhere. I do not have any social media.
He's a ghost.
Fantastic.
The way
Fantastic.
he likes it, he's a ghost. He pops in. He gives.
Here. You can find me on Discord. If people are part of your thing, Strauss C, Zeb. I'm mainly on Discord. If I know you in person, I'll add you on Facebook. Other than that, I don't have Twitter. I don't have Instagram. I don't have Pinterest. I don't have anything like that. So
I know you have Twitch.
I do have a Twitch. I've not logged in there forever. You can catch me on your channel because if anything, you're going to be streaming before I will.
All right. And Crow, where can they find you at?
I mean, if you want to dig up some relics from the past, I have a YouTube channel with the same username, Forsaken Crow. I also have a Twitch, which is Forsaken Valkyr, because my name was stolen a long, long time ago when I started right after Justin TV on Twitch, but that's a story for another time. I haven't been active on anything like that. Mainly, I've been working on an indie dev game project that I'm still in, like, its infancy. But outside of that, there'll be more to come. I'll throw that stuff in there as I have stuff to show off with that as a shameless plug. But yeah, that's kind of my stuff. But I'm most active on Discord, so if anyone joins this Discord for the podcast or any of the other kind of socials and things and productions that Drew's putting together, then you can find me here. I'm always around.
All right. And then, of course, you can find me at twitch.tv/ResidentInfect. Instagram, same thing. Twitter I have, but I don't use because it's stupid. It's just mini Facebook. Who cares? But yeah, Instagram and Twitch are the big ones other than YouTube now with this podcast. But all right. Thank you all again for tuning in. And thank you, Crow. Thank you, Grim, for coming in and talking the Angry 12 with me. And until next time, guys, take it easy. Peace.